Did I go overboard a bit?
A bit? A bit?
Welcome to another episode of Tea and Toffees, a twice monthly VTuber podcast. Hello, I am Nightshade, and I'm the demon.
And hello, I'm Cecilia and was a witch in my previous life and have a summer outfit now.
Yes, I can see that.
Yes.
I've turned into a fashion designer.
Yes, you did
Give
good.
me a week, I said, and did it in entire, not even a day, less than a day.
You did
Alright.
good. Thank you.
Alright, topic for the day is Puella, Magi, Madoka Magica. Mainly the original series and the third film, Rebellion. Because the franchise is very big nowadays. This is part 1 of 3, take 2, because I finally gave up on trying to salvage the original audio. I pray to whatever rules this world that this time it won't have the same issues. Yeah, this also originally only had 2 parts, but I divided into 3 to make my life easier.
Yeah, probably better.
Probably better, yeah. I have lots of things to say about many things, about animation and symbolism and everything. And for our first tag, I already decided not to include anything, but still ended up filling 2 very long episodes. Now 3 a little bit shorter. I don't know how long these end up being. But yeah, whoopsie. Didn't plan for that. Whoops.
Yeah, you were on a roll and nobody could stop you.
No one attempted to either.
Nope.
You see, this is what happens when no one stops me from getting sidetracked by everything and looking into it all and then some. Well, almost all. But still, I already restrained myself. What do our notes, or my notes rather, range from animation style, color theories, I cut those mostly though, religion, philosophies. I brushed up on my knowledge of effing Nietzsche of all things. Why didn't you stop me, Cecilia?
Because I was asleep? Or I was working. Besides, you're the demon equivalent of an adult. You're responsible for your own actions.
I can't even refute that.
And also, why would I stop you in the first place? I love to know about all the stuff that I miss while watching. It adds more meaning, you know? Enhancing the overall experience. Even though I forget most of it later down the line. Some stuff will stick, and more knowledge is always appreciated. Knowledge is power after all.
So it is. Yes, so it is. Yeah, it's a lot. Maybe it's too much, but that's what timestamps are for, aren't they?
Precisely.
Yeah, so I've divided the new division between parts. We have 2 parts for the original Puella, Magi, Madoka Magica show, and then part 3 will be Rebellion. Yeah, chapter titles will tell you what is where, but just brief overview. This part 1 is about the Madoka Magica franchise, darker elements of the originals, show, souls, and more. Part 2 we will delve into QB's entropy, time travel, JS, religion, and Faust. And then, of course, Rebellion and Nietzsche for part 3.
Nietzsche.
Nutcracker, Homura, and so on. So, yeah, Puella, Magi, Madoka Magica. Original name, Mahou Shoujo Madoka Magica, is technically a magical girl anime. Anyone familiar with the show will know exactly where I put that technically then. This franchise began with a 12th episode anime from 2011. Been a while now.
Been a bit, like 13 years?
And then it exploded from there. No, I remember when this show came out. I first watched it when it first became available where we live, which was in 2013, which is the year that Rebellion came out in Japan, actually. And I remember the waves Rebellion made.
And I only heard about it through you.
But yeah, it's odd to think about that it's already been that long. Anyway, on top of the original 12-episode anime, there are 2 compilation films called Beginnings and Eternal. Several people online made lists of the differences to the original. I won't list them. Then, of course, the sequel from Rebellion, which continues the anime, although technically it continues the compilation films. Anyway. Story-wise, there's no difference. It's just the visuals are a bit... They, of course, update the visuals for the compilation films.
Of course.
A second sequel titled Walpurgisnacht Rising was announced for winter 2024. We haven't heard much about it so far. I'm assuming they mean the second winter, not the first winter of 2024.
I mean, for anime seasons, winter is January and February and March. And that's already passed.
That didn't happen.
That didn't happen. So technically they are past what they announced.
To be fair, when this episode comes out, we might have more info. But at the time of recording, we only have the trailer.
At least it's something. And not
it's
nothing.
A gorgeous trailer.
Yes.
But yeah, like I said, Rebellion is technically a continuation of Beginnings in a Turtle. Because they updated some visuals. Like Sayaka's hairprints. They're very boring in the original. They're like music themed in the compilation films, and Rebellion continues that.
And I'm just like, as if anyone would notice, because why would I notice that?
Me. I noticed. I did.
Good for you and paying attention to details.
I mean, it's just stuff that I don't pay attention to it, but I notice that stuff. So there's also a manga adaptation. It's actually on my shelf, if you ever want to read it. Several manga spin-offs like Kazumi Magica or Madoka Magica and the Wave Arc. Wave Arc takes place between the series and Rebellion. I read all of them. I own 3 of the spin-offs. Or I owned. Do I still have them? Did I sell them? Anyway, but yeah. Then there's an anthology series and more manga series. Manga series. A lot of manga series.
Lots of manga.
Video games, light novels. There's a pretty popular mobile game called Magi Record that also received an anime and manga adaptation. There is more episodes of Magi Record than Madoka Magica, which is actually kind of sad.
Oh.
I watched the entire thing. It's fine. It's nice if you're craving more Madoka Magica stuff and already seen it all and stuff. But Puella Magi Madoka Magica is obviously so much better. There are also some very odd scene transitions and animation mistakes in the Magi Record anime.
I didn't watch it, but I heard of it.
I believe the mobile game is discontinued in everywhere but Japan, but I could be wrong about that. Side note, the term Magica Quartet is used for the group of the producer, director, writer, and the character designer from Studio Shaft, who created Puella Magi Madoka Magica and other media in the franchise.
Are you always going to say the full name, Puella Magi Madoka Magica?
For the original series, yes. Because otherwise I could be meaning anything in the franchise.
Yeah, true enough.
Yeah, Studio Shaft, for your information, also created the Monogatari series, Dance in the Vampire Bund, Nisekoi, and March Comes in Like a Lion.
I have heard of 2 of those.
I know all of them, watched the first 2 franchises, and read the manga for Dance in the Vampire Bund.
And I'm not surprised at all.
Okay, first point. Bullet point. Topic of today. Or not, second technically. Animation styles. 4 warm-up. Let's start with the animation styles. 1. The normal world with standard Studio Shaft 2D animation in typical Japanese anime fashion, more or less realistic. Referenced in background, if I get around to doing that, I probably will, maybe. To which I have to say, Mitakihara is so freaking pretty. Also, we got big empty spaces, large glass fronts in Madoka's house, in and around the school, the city, everywhere. Which, I don't know why, but big empty spaces and large glass fronts always make things feel futuristic for me.
Well, I can't say anything about the empty spaces, but large glass fronts? I mean, now you have like the money and technology for large glass fronts that didn't previously exist, so that's why, I guess.
Could be. Yeah, could be. It just evokes that feeling in you. Animation style number 2, in total contrast to the first, the witches and their barriers. Also called labyrinths or mazes, and because I don't want to discuss which of the 2 it is, I will call them barriers. It's a translation thing.
Okay.
But yeah, the barriers or labyrinths or mazes, whatever. I'm calling them barriers. They look like they could have been stop-motion animated. They are, in fact, not. But on purpose, they are animated to look like stop-motion animation. Done by the animator duo Gekidan Inokuri, so not by Shaft. They describe their style as being inspired by classical Russian and Czech animation, which is interesting.
Ooh.
I don't really have knowledge of those, so it's just what the creators themselves say, so...
I mean, I can see it.
Yeah, it clearly looks like paper cutout collages, purposely surrealistic. So yeah, surrealism is a given. Also reminiscent of Dadaism, which was an European art movement from around the First World War. In case your art knowledge from school is not up to date.
And my brain is just like, Dada, Defense Against the Dark Arts.
No, we're not here to talk about that kind of witches.
And I'm glad for it. That comes again at another time with a lot of exasperation. Let's get back to the good stuff.
So those barriers are like dreams. Extremely, and I say extremely with a lot of emphasis, extremely rich of symbolism. Everything represents something that makes this witch, something that made the person, the magical girl behind the witch. Their wish, their hopes and despair, their thoughts, lives. Just look at Octavia von Seckendorf, which is Sayaka's witch form. Look at the different versions of her, which tell you something about the different timelines in which they respectively appear. I have to admit I'm not doing the witches, the designs name stuff, because the Puella Magi wiki, this one, because there's several wikis, the Puella Magi wiki has a lot of information and observations about them already. So you can just, if you're interested in anything specific, you can just click through that. Go to the website page, wiki page. It's incredible. But yeah, the animation style they used for the witches and their barriers is incredibly well suited to represent the surrealistic, dreamlike, nightmare-like, cute, magical, yet low-key disturbing atmosphere of their natures. And then you have the magical girls in their standard anime look standing out and contrasting this. Paired with the beautiful music, it's simply perfect. On the matter of music, neither of us, neither Cecilia nor I, are very knowledgeable about music, so we can't really do any in-depth analysis of that, can we?
I do play an instrument, but I also don't have a clue about music.
Yeah, the music is awesome, and that's that.
Yes, it's awesome. End of story.
I have to add, though, that Yuki Kajiura composed most of the soundtrack for Puella Magi Madoka Magica and Rebellion. So you, Cecilia, and I, we saw her perform live at one of the cons we went to last year.
Yes. No wonder the soundtrack is so good. We went to the same concert twice, and it was still mind-blowing.
Yes. Soundscaping as well. Just one example. The scene with Sayaka and Madoka. Mayaka and Sadoka, yes. Sayaka and Madoka in the rain, episode 8. It's right at the beginning. You got rain softly on glass, rain softly falling on the seat, then rain very loudly all around. It's accompanying the conversation, the ups and downs. It's really good rain.
Good rain? Does that mean there's bad rain?
Yes, bad soundtrack. Which this show does not have.
True.
According to me.
According to you, and I agree.
It's very, the soundscaping is very nice, very well done, very fitting. While we're on that topic, the intro/opening for Puella Magi Madoka Magica is very misleading, because it suggests a typical magical girl anime, and there's no hint of the darker side at all.
Nope.
The first ending out of 3, I believe, as well. The second one, not so much. Well, we got like one special ending. It doesn't count. It's the Sayaka Kyoko ending. But
Doesn't count.
Yeah, we got 2 main ending songs, and the first one is just as misleading as the intro.
Hey.
Whereas the second, which is for the Magia song, is exactly like the show is. So, Anime sometimes does this. Death Parade was similar with its very catchy opening that didn't show you anything about the serious and dark themes the show portrayed. Whereas the ending song of Death Parade is really very fitting for the show. If it weren't for the intro, we also wouldn't know what Madoka would look like as a magical girl for most of the show. The intro shows it, the anime only when we get around to Homoda's flashbacks. In that same vein, the first outro song also is like super upbeat. Yeah, the Sayaka Kyoko one is in its own world, and then we got the Magia one, which is, yeah, like I said, dark. It's really good.
More
I really like
fitting.
it.
I mean, we need some balance for the darker side of the show, you know?
I guess, but no. Actually, no, they just wanted to lie to you.
They want to mislead us.
Yes,
Oh, no.
obviously.
How mean of them.
Another point on the matter of animation that I wanted to bring up, the runes. You know me, I'm a nerd. Generally,
Yes.
Madoka Magica uses a lot of German. This anime is a prime example of anime using German just because they think it sounds and looks cool. Occasionally, they switch to other languages because they think they sound and look cool. This one is a German one. There is also meaning in the German, of course, because this is Studio Shaft in the end. So, the runes of Madoka Magica are a proper system that has been deciphered by the overseas fandom. Not the Japanese one. Not long after the original release of the anime, which apparently surprised the creators quite a bit.
And I'm not surprised that there are people overseas who took no time at all to decipher these runes.
So the initial assumption was that the runes were corresponding to German names, based on the use of German in various parts of the anime, which is where the interpretation about Faust parallels comes from, incidentally, because Goethe's Faust is seen written on walls and such here and there in the first 2 episodes, but Faust will be next part. So, from what I've gathered, the process of decoding the runes was pretty long and complicated, with input from a lot of fans all coming together, and the fact that there are several different versions of the runes did not help matters.
It's nice to see the fandom coming together and working together to decipher these runes.
Yes.
There's so much toxicity nowadays in fandoms.
Yeah, things have been odd lately. Anyway, but yeah. Later editions of the original anime, as well as the Magi record anime, show you the transcribed witch names alongside the runes. But this was not originally the case when Puella Madoka Magica came out first. Fun fact. Fans have created usable rune fonts, and the Puella Magi wiki has 3 of the rune fonts embedded via CSS.
So fans could write secret messages to each other using these rune fonts.
If you know to read them, yes. If you want to put in the effort to learn how to read them. Yep.
I mean, I wouldn't want to put in the effort, but...
Because writing easy peasy, you can just use your standard keyboard for writing them.
Yeah, but reading...
I mean, technically, you can copy-paste it into Word and change the font.
But only if you receive it as a digital document where you can copy it out of like one-to-one, if it's like Word, PDF. PDF sometimes does weird shit if you copy it to Word afterwards. So,
I mean, you can also forbid people from copying stuff from your PDF.
Oh, yes. Or you just print it.
Yep. So, next topic. The pacing and the dark elements. Just for reference, I don't really know many magical girl anime. I know, I haven't seen, but I know Sailor Moon and Cardcaptor Sakura. I know they exist. I have watched Little Witch Academia, but I'm not sure whether that would count. It kind of fits the stereotype really well.
Yeah, a bit. I mean, I also know that like Sailor Moon and Cardcaptor Sakura exist, but also haven't watched that. But I did once start watching a magical girl anime just because I wanted to see like, what is this typical magical girl anime like? I didn't end up finishing it. Or maybe I did. Yeah, I think I dropped it. But anyways, it was named Glitter Force. And from the name alone, you can probably guess that it was like very stereotypical. And I think that's why I dropped it in the end. It was too on the nose and nothing really original. That was like, kept me interested.
Sounds horrifying.
Yeah, it was horrifying. That's why I dropped it. And that's why I think Madoka Magica, like Puella Magi Madoka Magica, is nice because it's not this very stereotypical which just grates on your nerve. It's breaking with traditions and it's very refreshing. I like that. It's like Madoka and Sayaka becoming magical girls. It only happened very late, and the main character becomes like only a magical girl in the very last episode. I know the first time I watched this, I was waiting for her to become a magical girl. Every episode, I thought, this will surely be the episode where she will finally become a magical girl.
Guess what? She doesn't.
She doesn't.
She doesn't.
Yeah, but it kept me hooked. It kept me watching.
Of course, you can't just start a dark magical girl anime with dark elements, right? So you can't just info dump stuff, how things work. You just have to space it out. And the way the darker reveals and explanations are handled is really well done in Puella, Magi, Madoka Magica. The TV series has great pacing. It's to the point, it sets the scenes, and it delivers. You're never bored, you aren't left behind because it's too fast. It's in my opinion, in my humble opinion, it is perfect. There are, of course, some minor issues here and there, especially in the animation rather than the pacing. I would say the compilation films correct those, but not the second one does. Beginnings left out some, in my opinion, cruel minor scenes, and of the pacing of a TV series doesn't translate well to a film, especially considering that Beginnings covers episodes 1 to 8 out of 12, and Eternal 9 to 12, so 4 episodes. So many believe, and I would agree, that it's best to watch episodes 1 to 8 of the original anime, then the compilation film Eternal, and then Rebellion. Maybe. Or not. Opinions are divided about Rebellion. They were for a very long time, because we thought that was it, while Poker's Not Rising was not a thing. We didn't know it would come about. So the ending of Rebellion was the official ending, and that's very controversial.
Okay, so next time I watch it, I will watch episodes 1 to 8. Then I will watch the compilation film Eternal, and then Rebellion.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. That way you get a nice transition of the visuals as well. You've you've got a bit of the original series, a good chunk, with the awesomeness that it is. Then you got updated awesomeness in Eternal for the last 4 episodes, with extra scenes added. One of the scenes changed to a graveyard, which is nice.
Ooh.
Overall looks cleaner, gives you a better visual transition into Rebellion. There's hairpins for one. Yeah, and then Rebellion. Yes, Rebellion. We'll get into that. Anyway, the way the world is built, explanations are delivered, is very well done in the series. Although, not sure whether that's a good or a bad thing. I keep forgetting. Several days sometimes pass between scenes. This is 12 episodes, about a month and a half.
That's a lot.
Even longer if you take Homoda's loops into it, because she... for Homoda, it's been a few years.
Oof.
But yeah, Rebellion suffers from its own pacing, more on that in our 3rd episode on the topic. The anime doesn't start sweet. And then there's this sudden dark twist. The show does actually set its darker mood pretty much from the beginning. But it's still slow and revealing and getting darker and darker, right? But we're not starting as the super sweet, cutie pie, pinkish, classical magical girl anime. We don't. And then suddenly, it does take a dark turn, right, in episode 3, I think.
Yeah.
It's been too long now since we've actually watched it for the recording. Whoops.
Yeah, but
anyway.
It's obvious from the first episode that this won't be a typical magical girls anime. It will have much more mature themes in it. Or it will just be plain crazy. Could also go both directions.
I don't think it's plain crazy. I think it's really nice.
But just from watching the first episodes, you could think that it is a possibility.
Yeah, you're not quite sure if you have never heard of it, seen it before, then you're not quite sure where it's going. But yeah. The very first scene already contains so many important elements, which actually, the very first scene got cut in Beginnings.
Wow.
One of the reasons you shouldn't watch, because it's just... And they later reference it, which was weird. Anyway.
Weird.
It's the dream Madoka has, right?
And
we can only, as a viewer, contextualize it at the end in retrospect, when we realize that Madoka's dream was something that happened in Homoda's loop, or one of the latest loops that she did.
I didn't even realize that. Whoopsie.
Oh dear. But yeah, you see that, it's odd dream, but okay, guess this is not a normal, typical show, and then you go into it, and at the end you're like, wait a second.
Wait a hot second.
That dream she had. Well, yeah. So, what dark elements actually are there? Let's actually list some of them that make Madoka Magica unique. So obviously, the magical girl witch cycle, how it is fueled by strong emotions like love and despair and grief. Usually, magical girls, they don't generally become the evil that they fight in other shows. They certainly don't do that as a consequence of a wish that they made to become a magical girl. So do not trust the cute talking animal.
But it's a cute talking animal and I want one.
Same. I mean, we have one. We have a Toffee left. Toffee died.
Yes, we have a Toffee.
Well, she doesn't talk. Only in meows.
Yeah.
But she's cute.
Cute.
So, the trope usually goes like this. You have a high school girl or middle school girl with typical school problems, and she encounters a monster of some sort or another, and a cute talking animal appears and offers her magical powers. Usually, the cute talking animal is absolutely trustworthy. Kyubey is not. Even if it weren't for Akemi Homura hunting it down right from the start, the fact that its expression just literally never changes, that is already a big clue. It's like, something is not right with this thing that calls itself Kyubey. So, yeah, that's right from the start, the obvious big one. Mami, our first proper magical girl that we're introduced to, aside from Homura. She shows us how lonely the burden of a magical girl is. Sayaka shows us the isolation, goes hand in hand, becoming other, capital O, from your friends and classmates. Magical girl anime usually are about friendship, but doing something good for humanity, about gaining cool powers and abilities, saving the world, whatever,
Yeah.
And Madoka Magica is a very big contrast to shows like Sailor Moon in this point. Although, to be fair to Sailor Moon, the initial series, the first seasons were actually not that glittery, pink tinted glasses. I haven't seen them, can't attest to that, but I heard that they're not actually that stereotypical. Anyway, the girls in Madoka Magica do not automatically become friends. Neither in the original series nor the spin-offs. They don't. They don't band together at the end to fight a common enemy. Even the alliance between Homura and Kyoko, which is born out of the necessity of a common enemy, doesn't make them closer to each other. And then Kyoko sacrificed herself. They can't even get together at the end because they're all dead. Almost.
Yeah. Typically, they all come together and are suddenly best friends forever. They would gain friends for life and bond over their shared hardships and what it means to be other. But here, the opposite happens. They are lonely, isolated, and it's common to fight each other even instead of becoming allies.
Yeah. Because they have to compete for the grief seeds that they need. They're competing against each other.
Yeah.
It's not even if I wanted to, it's not that easy to work together because resources are limited. But yeah, like I said, I believe it wasn't that easy in Sailor Moon for them to become friends, to be fair to the show.
Which is nice. It would be nice. Yeah.
From what I heard, it was a really good one back in the day. So yeah, they're all isolated. Mommy's lonely, hunting witches on her own. No time to socialize. It's lonely.
And I can empathize with Mommy's feelings of being lonely as a magical girl. It's like, she does this incredibly dangerous job and can't talk to anyone about it. She's afraid and hurting and alone.
Sayaka, meanwhile, is disgusted with what she has become. She struggles with not being particularly good at her new job. On top of that, it's like, oof. Yeah, Kyoko, not so much, but she carries the burden of being at fault for ruining her own family with her wish. And then Homura is trying to save Madoka. Has no time for anything else. Madoka is the only one who has it easy. Mami is all alone. Kyoko got her family killed at what appears to have been a very young age. Also means Kyoko has been a magical girl for several years. Sayaka has severe mental health issues as a consequence of becoming a magical girl and turns into witch most likely in every timeline. Homura is repeating the same month and a half over and over and over again trying to save Madoka. Madoka is either a magical girl that dies at the end or lives a normal life surrounded by magical girls worried for her friends. It just doesn't compare. Madoka's wish in the original timeline, according to additional material to the show, was to save the cat that we see in the intro song after it got hit by a car.
What a mundane wish.
Yes. It's very fitting for the context, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just
Wow.
Madoka, our
For that you
protagonist,
sold
is
your
the only
soul.
one. Madoka's the only one who has it easy. So, which is... I don't have a transition for the next point, sorry. Soul Gem.
I gave you
A
one.
Soul Gem.
I was like,
This-
that's what you
yeah.
sacrificed your soul for.
Yeah,
now
yeah,
let's
I
move
know,
on to
it's-
souls and soul
Because
gems.
I didn't have one. Sorry. Yeah, so the
Aye.
Soul Gem represents the cost of becoming a magical girl and gaining magical abilities. Both in the way that it is literally yourself, and your body becomes an empty shell that you control, and in the way it transforms into a witch's grief seed when you reach your limit. Paired with all the problems Sayaka has going on because of her wish, this reveal has an even greater impact in the series. Very good framing. Very well done. Sayaka's whole arc in general is super fascinating. And then you got Kyoko sacrificing herself so that Sayaka won't die alone. A very bittersweet end, especially considering how at each other's throat those two were for most of the part they knew each other, at least in the timeline that we get to see. Yeah, and then we get a conclusion to their arc, to Sayaka's arc, when Madoka makes her wish. On that note, spoiler for Rebellion, I do not like that Sayaka is alive again at the end of Rebellion. I hate that.
You hate that.
For me, it undoes the conclusion to her arc that we got at the end of the original series.
Yeah. And I think that the cost of becoming a magical girl is very nicely explored in Kyoko's backstory, which is in one word, tragic. Tragic backstory time. People often only hear what they want to hear. Sadly, many people don't think for themselves and just accept what others say, which is like, please turn on your brain. Like, as long as they believe that the other party is being truthful, like, yeah, I'm just gonna accept it as the truth, not thinking about it whatsoever. Sometimes the statements don't even make sense if you think about them like a teeny tiny bit, but they just don't question it, because why would they? And take it at face value. A bit of personal research can go a long way. So do that. Do that all the time. Well, if you have the time, I suppose. Even well-educated people fall victim to this, sadly. You would think they learned to think about everything critically from their own opinions, but they only do that with a select few things, sadly.
Sounds like you are speaking from personal experience.
As sadly I am.
Years and years of suffering.
Yes. Like
the
people,
stupidity of other people.
Yeah, suffering
Yes.
because of the stupidity of the masses. It's, yeah. And if you use your wish for others, then you run into the risk of not understanding the intention behind the wish. You want to do good, want to help, but it's not always as easy as fulfilling a wish. Everything always has a downside. As we so often say, it's about balance. I like how they portray the emotional struggles of the characters in Puella, Magi, Madoka Magica. Emotions have ups and downs. You can struggle with something, you get better, but getting over it completely almost never happens, in my opinion. It will just always be there. You just learn to accept it and to come to terms with it. But sometimes it must get worse before it can get better. And sometimes it feels like it never gets better, and you drown in it and drown. And in those cases, please get outside help. Please, it will get better.
Not that the magical girls, which is what we're actually talking about, could realistically get any outside help.
Yeah, like Sayaka.
Or go to a therapist. It's like the therapist would look at her being like, what the hell are you talking about?
What are you talking about? I don't believe you. That is strange. Maybe they might make a metaphor out of it or something. But they simply can't grasp the concept of literally your soul got extracted from your body. So the magical girls would just keep spiraling because they clearly are not believed, which not nice thought. And I know that Sayaka is jealous of Madoka's natural talent, but she still made that choice for herself. She chose to become a magical girl. She knows it was wrong, but instead of apologizing and vowing to not do so again, she just spirals further down into depression and self-deprecating thoughts. It's very sad to see, but it also feels like a natural development. Because humans are inherently flawed, and it shows, which I like, even if it is heartbreaking.
Yeah, she knows that talking to Madoka like that in the rain scene, which I love so much.
In the rain scene. Good
With
rain.
soundscaping. Yeah, she knows, okay, yeah, her jealousy is just, she shouldn't just let out her frustrations at Madoka because of her own failures. And yeah, well,
Humans.
she doesn't apologize though.
Humans.
Yeah, she never got to apologize to Madoka for that. Not that Madoka minds, because Madoka is a good girl.
Good girl.
Also, Sayaka dies, Kyoko dies, Mami dies. The deaths in the show are real and valid and lasting, harmonious, time resets not counting. They have consequences. Mami and Kyoko had no one left, but Sayaka had a family, and that family doesn't know where she is, doesn't even have a body to bury at first. And once they have, they still do not know what happened to their daughter. Mami's death at the end of the episode 3, off with the head. Sorry.
You really gonna
Her
love
death
yourself.
works so well because we got to spend time with her as a character first. And the series took its time setting up the context and premise and alluding to its darker themes, setting it right into it. It's just a slow burn, slow build. It's a 3-episode build, right?
Yeah, 3
Start a bit
build.
dark, get a little bit darker. And then episode 3 happens. We're not getting right into that from episode 1.
We don't start out with a suicide scene right off the bat.
Like Celia's parents saying.
How did you know what I was thinking?
Only that how many months ago? Oops, been a while. Sayaka, as I said, is implied to have turned into a witch in every timeline. So yeah, Sayaka's family will never know about her death in every timeline, about the truth of her death. The daughter just disappears one day, never returns. Maybe her body turns up, but there's no evidence as to what happened. It's very weird, odd circumstances.
It's just an empty shell. Just a body. No evidence of what happened, as if she was hit by the killing curse.
You don't say.
Yeah.
So, the parents are actually an interesting point in itself, because they exist.
Exist!
Madoka's parents are both present in the story. Her mom is super cool. Her house dad is super cool, because house dad and career mom.
Yes.
The scene where Madoka asks her mom for advice is great.
Yes,
Awesome.
house husband, career mom. Yeah, both parents are... Yeah, I like both parents. Yes.
Sayaka's mom makes an appearance, which is very important in the context for Sayaka's death. We know why Mami and Kyoko are on their own, respectively. But what about Homura is the question, because we don't know. She's the only one.
Fitting.
And even that is fitting. We have no idea what is going on with her family situation.
He's just more mysterious than all the others.
Yeah, so to get a little bit more into the whole magical girls, witches, souls. The system seems fairly simple. You enter a contract with the cute talking animal, it grants your wish, a soul gem is formed, and then you fight witches.
Simple.
Simple.
So you would think.
Simple, to the point. Yeah, magical girl, right?
Yeah.
QB explains at the beginning of the show, magical girls are born from wishes, and witches are born from curses. Later, we learn that witches are magical girls that gave into despair. Which, hope and despair. Reminds me of Danganronpa.
You don't say. Junko is even here as Madoka's mom.
So she is. But yeah, so the signs are all here early on. Although the curses are a thing that will always remain. That doesn't necessarily have anything to do with what QB is doing, hence the raves after the series concludes. So if familiars evolve into witches, as we are told at the beginning, then that means there are at least 2 types of witches, perhaps even 3. Of course, the ones that were once magical girls are one type. Then the ones that were witch familiars and turned into witches. And then possibly a 3rd one would be witches that formed from concentrations of dark emotions, like at disaster sites, hospitals, and so on. I initially assumed that Charlotte would be one of those, but Rebellion tells us no. No. Anyway, but yeah, we see the grief seed that is about to hatch at the hospital in episode 3. Like I said, Rebellion tells us this was a magical girl who liked cheese very much, but
mascarpone.
Something like that, right? It's you have
something like
a concentration of despair and hopelessness and dark emotions, and then a grief seed could form out of that. Now the question is, what came first? The witch or the magical girl? What came first?
The chicken or the egg? Well, the egg, because dinosaurs.
Yes, dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm.
Now the essential question of it all is, what is a soul? The answer is, it's a concept present in religion and philosophy. Puella Magica does cover religion, by the way. It's not as in your face as you would think. Next episode will cover this. So, a soul is an immaterial essence, often the spiritual essence, something that makes you human. Most concepts are made of a trio of body, soul, and then mind/spirit. Body is obvious, it's your physical body. The mind encompasses your consciousness, your thoughts, and so on. And the soul is yourself. It contains your memories, your personality and identity, maybe even memories of past lives. Reincarnation is what you believe in.
Me.
It would, in that case, also reincarnate after you die. The soul is what reincarnates, whereas your body dies and your consciousness just, I guess, dies with your body. Maybe it sticks to your souls, depends.
Me. Reincarnated witch.
Yeah, the soul makes you, you.
Me.
So, definitions and characteristics vary between religions and philosophies. Some even divide into multiple souls. For example, one that remains with the body after death and one that moves on to whatever comes after. Or one that disappears after death and one that moves on to whatever.
Oh.
Or maybe you have like an earth soul and I don't remember what the other two are called. Yeah, but
soul?
I know that some Chinese, the wuxia genre likes to, genre also be like, okay, you got these different parts of the souls. They have different, one that clings to your body, one that is in the underworld, one that will return after so and so many days. Anyway, a soul. It's a concept that everyone is kind of familiar with, but most wouldn't be able to properly explain to you what it means.
And that's what I have Nightshade for. Do you even have a soul?
Nope.
Should have expected that.
I'm dead. What did you expect? I'm dead.
Yeah.
Can't tell you. I don't think I had a soul before that either.
So if you don't have a soul...
Do demons have souls? I think some demons have souls. Depends on what kind of demon you are.
Yeah,
I wouldn't know. No idea.
Don't have souls, so demons also can't have soul gems because they don't have souls.
Depends on the demon, like I said. But I've been dead for so long, I can't tell you what happened before that. Soul gem. My initial thought on this was, I'm with QB on this one.
You are QB in this one. You previously told me you would eat the grief seeds, and QB eats grief seeds.
That's true. I really do want to know what would happen if you were to eat the grief seeds.
Why would you even want to eat that stuff?
In the hopes of gaining a soul?
And then you wouldn't be able to become a magical girl in the first place.
Darn it. Yeah, alright. I guess I'm QB. Anyway, so I clearly initially didn't see the problem with the I wanted to say grief seed just now, the soul gems at first. But I'm wiser now.
Older and wiser.
I guess.
Yeah.
Doesn't really make a difference to me anymore at this point. So, QB doesn't ask for their consent in taking their soul out of their bodies and putting it inside a gemstone. And that is an issue I understand. It's a betrayal of trust. This is a major change, and they weren't even aware it was happening because they weren't informed about it, let alone ask. I also understand the inconvenience of needing to have your soul gem near your body at all times. If you accidentally leave it behind or lose it, you're basically screwed. Magical girls are also required to fight witches and obtain grief seeds because their soul gem will become tainted even if they simply live their life. The Magi record anime addresses this to a certain extent. I don't know anything about the game, but I know the anime does. In the Raid of franchise, actually, the girls all react differently to the revelation. Sayaka's reaction is one extreme, and it is very fitting for the context and important for the story the original series wanted to tell. Other characters from the spin-offs have milder reactions generally. Some simply accept it as being part of a magical girl, right? Some make use of what this means, taking a pragmatic viewpoint, similar to how QB explains its reasoning for separating the soul in the first place. Some I believe this one was of religious background. Some are even excited to learn the truth about the gems being their literal souls, because in that case, it's a confirmation that the religious beliefs are true because the soul exists, right? This is proof, yada yada.
This is my soul.
Yeah, very different reactions in the wider franchise, which is very nice, also realistic, and also explores this a bit further, right? It is interesting that Homer that tells Madoka, nobody I've warned has ever listened to me before, because she doesn't mean other magical girls, just different timeline versions of these specific girls. And Homer has looped almost 100 times, according to the writer of the show. So she probably tried a few different approaches.
Probably.
So these specific sets of girls they don't believe it until they get the proof, and by then it's already too late.
Yep.
Another thing that neither you or I would have considered upon watching this, the cultural aspect.
Oh yeah, cultural differences.
Sayaka takes the soul gem reveal really hard, and it seems in episode 8 to be more about being a rock than not having given her consent, which is what I initially didn't understand, but to a certain degree I now understand where she's coming from. One, of course, she's not in a very good place mentally. In Japan, the soul is an intrinsic part of you, and separating from your body is a violation. The same way organ transplants after you are considered brain dead would prevent your soul from resting in peace and or moving on to reincarnation. It's a whole thing about the body being intact, so the soul remains intact, so you can reincarnate. Makes it hard for organ transplants, of course.
Yeah.
And all that. It's a very intrinsic part of Japanese culture.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Good to know.
Indeed, and that's also explains why Sayaka takes it so hard. And also, for example, the religious girl, I believe, was European. Also a bit older. Was it around the time of Jeanne d'Arc, or am I confusing this with another one of this? There are so many spin-offs, but, right? Different culture, different viewpoint.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. In the end, Kyuubi's reasoning, as explained to Sayaka, is sound, after all, right? Yes. Human bodies are fragile.
And breakable. Fragile, breakable. And fighting witches with such a fragile thing would be difficult indeed. But they really should have told their contractors beforehand. Yes.
I mean, he doesn't do that because Kyuubi also doesn't get it what the problem is. And he's like, nah, it's just easier if I don't tell them. And then, they're like, consent issues, buddy. The absence of a no is not a yes.
Exactly.
As seen before that, the soul gem also has disadvantages. Because magical girls, without their body to control, are unable to do anything. You can't do anything if you don't have a body. And ultimately, Kyuubi still does not ask for consent, which, bad no-no.
Bad no-no. Maybe Kyuubi did at first tell them, but if they tell the girls beforehand, they won't make the contract, and if you tell them after, they get mad, which would impact their mental health and lead to earlier deaths.
Which is what Kyuubi wants, witches everywhere. Lots of energy.
So maybe it's all part of the plot, not to tell them precisely so that they get mad and become witches. But maybe he also just did not get consent because it complicated things in the past, or does Kyuubi just not get it and therefore disrespects the concept of consent? Well, she said.
As Homer that does tell us, Kyuubi is a creature that doesn't understand human values. And towards the end, Kyuubi tells Madoka themselves probably, because there's multiple Kyubis. Hide mine. Though we are not perfect at it, we at least negotiate with you as sentient beings. So that means Kyuubi is aware their way of communicating with contractors isn't best.
At least
but
that's
also
something.
It's like, yeah, we are aware that you're sentient beings and negotiate with you. And I'm like, not man. And also in episode 9, Kyuubi says, we ask for and receive your consent for every contract we make. Which I'm like, yeah, sure, but you're not giving them the full picture. So it does know what consent is, but it doesn't know that consent given without all of the information is still not consent. It's withholding the fine print. Yeah. So yeah, Kyuubi calls it a misunderstanding, but it's really not.
It's a lack of information.
Yes. It's the absence of a no and not a yes, which is very different. So, same episode. Kyubey explains pseudoscience and alien values to a middle school girl that just lost her friend and then tells her almost cheerfully, if you ever feel like dying for the sake of the universe, just let me know. So, there's that as well. Tells you a lot about what Kyubey is like.
Yeah, this sounds so much like a classic villain line, but Kyubey is just being rational. We know they lack emotional capacity, so it's not really surprising. Kyubey doesn't view what they are doing as wrong or evil, since they operate on a different set of morals and values and just don't get humans. Reminds me of a certain undead demon. Okay, before we move on, Nightshade didn't mention how every magical girl will die an early death. It's magical girl for a reason. There are no magical women as far as I'm aware, nor magical boys or magical persons. Because apparently teenage girls have the highest emotional fluctuations.
Actually, older magical girls do exist.
Spin-offs?
In the wider franchise.
Okay.
Yeah, in the spin-offs, there is one in her 20s, and one of the witches from episode 10 was described as having been a magical girl in her mid-20s to 30s in the show's production notes. The note actually tells us this witch was weak precisely because she wasn't a girl anymore when she transformed. So it's in Kyubey's interest to have them be girls and transform into witches while they're still girls.
Young and emotional.
Mm-hmm. How do we end this?
With the closing notes from the anime. Don't forget, always, somewhere, someone is fighting for you. As long as you remember her, you are not alone.
That actually reminds me of Blackrock Shooter quite a lot. I think Blackrock Shooter came before Madoka Magica. Also, could technically be considered a magical girl anime. We're doing that one as well at one point, but not in the near future. Sorry. So, you can find us on... I completely forgot that Twitter hasn't been Twitter for quite a while now. I did correct it in the anniversary already, but... Yeah, it's X now. X Twitter. Ha, that's a nice wordplay. X Twitter. So you can find us on X Twitter, Spotify, and YouTube at Tea and Toffees. Tea like the beverage, Toffees like our cat, also the sweet. I also play games live on Twitch, usually on Saturdays with Cecilia, joining via chat, which means either voice chat or keyboard chat. Sometimes I even post random art on Instagram at Nightshade, written like my name, which I know is complicated, but whatever. It's in the description below.
Yeah, it's in the description. If you enjoyed this episode, leave us a comment. Do you have a wish strong enough to willingly enter a contract with Kyubey? Also, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Thank you.
I'm curious how shocked you were when you first watching of Madoka Magica.
Yeah.
And have you watched Rebellion?
Have you?
Yeah. So in part 2 of Madoka Magica, that is I, will talk about time travel, chairs, perilous origin, and Faust. Part 3 shall be Rebellion and Nietzsche.
And chairs. The chair part still has me curious. I'm looking forward to that.
It's not that deep. It also is, but I kept that one very short.
Okay.
But it's there. And I just like to mention it because it's fun. Cheers. Until then.
Bye.
Bye.